Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Tanisha Barclay. I am the founder of TGB InspirED Solutions, and I just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about classroom management. It is something that I do. It's very close and near to my heart because I know the struggle of teachers. I've seen the struggle of teachers who have had classroom management issues, and because of that, my heart bleeds for them, and I like to go in and help them find solutions that are practical, solutions that can be applicable immediately to help them in some of the management issues that they might have. I wanted to talk just a minute about the difference between classroom management and discipline. And if you see me looking down, it's because I wrote some notes and I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget. But there is a difference between management and discipline. And I kind of wanted to put some definition to that so that as we begin to end this year and teachers begin to think about and reflect on what worked and what didn't and start planning for the next year, they can kind of keep these things in their mind. You know, of course, in the state of Alabama, teachers now have a classroom management plan that they put into place at the beginning of the year. They give it to their principals. The principals are supposed to sign off on it if they agree, and things of that nature. And they can kind of talk about it if they think there's things that need to be put in or taken out. But I still wanted to kind of put some things into teachers' minds and into leaders' minds as we end the year and we reflect and then get ready to start the new year. And some of these things can be school-wide applicable. But when you think about discipline, this deals with student behaviors. Okay, this deals with rules on how to control the classroom environment. This deals with plans that may be in place that have rules. Okay, again, that's discipline. But when you start to think about classroom management, and sometimes you hear classroom management and people go, oh, you don't have, your class must be chaotic, your class must be all kind of things. When you hear the word classroom management, it's becoming so taboo in education, but it's not. Classroom management deals with how students do their work. It deals with procedures that are in place. Procedures like how they turn in their papers, how they are grouped, how they may reach the teacher when they don't understand, maybe, or how they give the teacher a clue that they learned something. So for instance, the teacher may say, did everyone understand? Give me a 1 if you got it, 2 if 3 if you're lost. And you may see a myriad of hands, and that's kind of the teacher's way of understanding and kind of locking into her or his mind as to what areas the kids may, need help. But classroom management plans have procedures, how you take up paperwork, things, and that the students understand what to do. If you're leaving the classroom, you get this pass. If you're wanting to go to the office because you're sick, you may get a different type of pass, and so forth. But these are how you manage the room and what things are in place so that everyone understands and that it can run smoothly. Okay, that is not the same thing as discipline. Okay. So now that we have a clear understanding of the difference between discipline, which is how students behave, there are rules, there are consequences tied to that. So now we can kind of really drill down. When you think of discipline, and I want you to kind of think in your head that it is reactive. Somebody did something, a student did something, and now you're reacting. Okay? So discipline is reactive. Discipline is also problem driven. There was a problem, a student did something, I reacted. I'm noticing this problem, I'm going to put this into place. Okay, that's discipline. It has negative consequences as punishments. There are punishments, there are consequences as to what happens when you break this rule. There are rules, not procedures. Rules. Okay, that's discipline. It promotes compliance. That means you're going to follow the rules because I said so. It is an expectation and you will do it. That's discipline. Okay? Also, it stops deviant behaviors. That means because of the consequences, because that it may get progressive and more severe, it stops those behaviors. Okay? That's discipline. And you need to be consistent when you discipline. Okay? And we'll get into that later. But when you think of management, which is my area, which is the thing that I love, and don't get me wrong, discipline has to happen. But when you think of management, it deals more with being proactive. I realized this year students like to leave the classroom when we start math. Okay, here are the things that I'm going to put into place in advance. Okay, nobody goes to the restroom during math unless it is an absolute emergency. Okay, you are going to start thinking ahead, right? That is proactive. Productivity driven, it has rewards. Okay, there are rewards to learning time. There are rewards that are put into place. I want to reward everyone for staying on task. I want to reward that group. They finished and they're now taking out their books and they're reading silently and waiting on everyone else. I'm going to reward. So there's rewards for for increased learning time. It promotes responsibility. They did something without me having to tell them. They get a reward. It produces predictable behavior. So now you're starting to see that more and more students are doing what they're supposed to be doing without you even having to ask. They know when I need to turn in my paper, there's a drawer over there that says math. I take my sheet, I put it in the math drawer. I don't have to interrupt my teacher to turn that in because I know it's there. I was out yesterday. There's a folder on the wall that says absent work, and I know to go over there. I don't have to ask my teacher. I know that if I have an emergency, I can just hold up my hand like this and she'll nod and I can go get the pass. So these are things that we need to start thinking about as educators and things that we put into place, because sometimes we think classroom rules and we think consequences, but we kind of leave out the part that deals with the management, the classroom management, the proactive part, things that need to be into place. One of the major things that I think about when I go into a classroom where the teacher has been struggling with the management piece is I look at the classroom and I look at the arrangement. That's the first thing I do. I go in and I observe. I want to see the arrangement. I want to see, so where do kids turn in their work? Where do students get, like we talked about, they're missing assignments when they're not here? Why is the floor dirty? It's filthy. They can't learn in a room where all of the workbooks are just scattered everywhere. This room, first of all, needs to be organized in such a way that it can be productive to not just you, but the students as well. Their Chromebooks, is there a place for them to put them while they're in their collaborative groups? Or are they just thrown all over the floor and they're stepping all over them and the bags and the cords? What is your expectation on students when they have extra baggage? Like, do we put it somewhere, or is it there, or do we just kick it around? Like, what are these things? You know, and so we need to think about that. The management piece is what leads to, or not, the discipline piece. They do go hand in hand. Also, if a student is having a bad day, is there a way for us to gauge that? Is there a way for us to check in, have them check in before we start our lesson? So these are things that we need to kind of think about. But an ineffective teacher disciplines their students to control their every action. That is their way of managing the room. They discipline their students to control their every action. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of putting them out in the hallway. There's a lot of reaching out to parents for negative things. There's a lot of just reactive things, problems that are driving the culture and the environment. An effective teacher teaches their students how to be responsible for appropriate procedures. They teach them. They spend the first couple of weeks or week or so teaching their students how to be productive, responsible, and accountable students while they're introducing lessons, but they're teaching them, you have to be responsible in here, and you're going to be accountable for your learning. I expect that. I expect that. I'm going to teach you how to turn in your work, how to email me if you're at home and you have a question about something, how to receive and retrieve supplies in a responsible way, so you don't go over there and you're tapping on other kids and high-fiving other kids and being disruptive just to go get your supplies for your group. I'm going to teach you how to problem solve in your group when the 2 or 3 of you or 4 of you can't agree on something. You're going to talk about it. I'm going to teach you how to collaborate, how to think critically, how to communicate. I'm going to teach you how to do those things, and it won't be always through discipline. Okay? So those are some of the things. Procedures teach students responsible skills that serve them well in school throughout life. Think about that. When we teach our kids these procedures, we teach them skills that they will need as adults. We teach them, I don't have to curse you out to make my point when we don't agree. And sometimes it's okay to just not agree. We agree to not agree, and it's okay, right? So procedures teach them how to be responsible, productive adults. Discipline teaches them, I'm just going to comply. That's it. And we've all seen those people. We've seen those people before, right? We've worked with those type of people before, that the only reason they do something, the only reason, is so that they're not disciplined. Okay, so procedures organize the classroom so that the myriad of activities, and there's a lot going on at one time with one teacher, and you may have 35 kids, right? But procedures organize the classroom so the myriad of activities that take place can function smoothly in a stress-free manner. That is what we want. We want the teacher to move from being, I'm the center of the classroom, to the students are the center of the classroom, and I'm just facilitating. I'm just making sure that it runs smoothly, because they are researching their own learning, which I've introduced, but they're researching their own learning. They're testing the hypothesis. They're answering questions, asking questions. They're doing all these things, right? While it is a stress-free classroom, it's effective, right? Students perform better when they know what the teacher expects of them. Have y'all ever seen those students that are like something else in some classrooms, and you'll have one teacher say, I really don't see that behavior. I don't have that. That student doesn't do that in my classroom. He doesn't behave that way with me. Or she doesn't do that in my classroom. And the other people are like, why? And the teacher says something to the effect of, because she knows. I'm not going to have it. She doesn't do that. And that teacher will often say, if she's acting bad or he's acting bad or doing something in your class, send them to me. And that other teacher will say, do you want me to send you to Miss Johnson? And they'll go, because they know what is expected. Okay? So an effective teacher explains and re-explains and models what is expected in their classrooms, and the students know it. There's not a question as to what is expected in that classroom. They can tell you with their eyes closed what is expected. And if you really want to know if they really know what's expected in that classroom, put a sub in there. They're even good with the sub, because just the room itself exudes what is expected, right? So we've got to keep those things in mind. Effective teachers produce results from classrooms that are predictable, reliable, and consistent. And I just want to kind of sit for a little while in that. The consistency piece is so important. It is so important. You start this the day students walk into your room. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready. You have to be patient. You have to be consistent. If you expect students to come into your classroom and sit down and start their bell ringer that has already been prepared when they come into your classroom, that has to happen every day. They have to know where to turn in their work every day, how to submit their work. If they're submitting work on Google Classroom, they have to know how to submit it. If you want them, when they submit it, to label it bell ringer 1 or week 1, bell ringer week 2, bell ringer week 3, whatever you're wanting, it has to be consistent. It can't be today you're going to label it your name. Tomorrow you're going to label it your group name. Wednesday you're going to label it. You got to be consistent. Oh no, I don't want you to turn it in that way. I want you to email it. No, I want you to screenshot it. And then I want you to be consistent. No, you can't leave the classroom during reading. Yes, but you can leave the classroom today during reading because I'm tired and I'm frustrated, and just go on, just go. Oh, you can't find a patch, just go, it's fine. What you've done is taught them that you're inconsistent. Today I teach with the light on, and tomorrow I'll teach with the light off and on and off and all over the place, and inconsistent. I'm going to call your mom when you are tapping your pencil because I said stop, but then I won't call your mom when you don't turn in your work. I'll write you up today because you rolled your eyes, but you used profanity yesterday and I heard it and I didn't say a thing. We've got to be consistent. Okay, whatever you're expecting, you have to expect that and put that into place every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever you are expecting, it must be put into place every day. The minute you start letting up on what your rules and consequences are, believe me, it shows. And I tell people every year, what you start out with, when you let up, by Christmas, we'll see what's really going on. The students' behavior will show. And by spring break, and the sap has risen, they're really going to test those boundaries. So the consistency piece will show whether you were or whether you weren't. Okay, so I just really want to reiterate today the difference between the classroom management and the discipline. I work with teachers, I work with leaders, I work with districts on the classroom management piece, because if you can master your classroom management piece, it lessens and alleviates some of the discipline. Now, I'm not saying kids won't be kids, because they will. They're going to have to be disciplined. They're human. Adults have to be disciplined, right? But what we do is, when we do discipline, we can explain through the discipline process with that student, with that child, here were my expectations. And you can even ask them, what do I expect of you? And they can tell you. But I will say this, when there has been inconsistencies, they'll tell you that too. I hope that this was helpful. There's more where this came from. We can talk more about it if you'd like to reach out to me. Again, my name is Dr. Tanisha Barclay with TGB InspirED Solutions. My email is drbarclayleads@gmail.com. That's DRBARCLAYLEADS@gmail.com. Thank you.